Welcome to How to Talk with Anyone. Master the art of effortless conversations with pro tips and powerful insights. Brought to you by Mindful Literary. In this audiobook, you'll discover the tools and techniques that will elevate your conversations and help you connect with anyone, anywhere. Whether you're breaking the ice at a party, navigating a difficult discussion, or building deeper relationships, you'll gain the confidence and skills to engage in any social situation with ease. From understanding nonverbal cues to mastering the subtle art of small talk, each chapter is designed to provide you with actionable insights that make conversations flow effortlessly. You'll learn how to read the room, ask better questions, and even share personal stories in a way that resonates. With powerful tips on empathy, body language, and adapting to different personalities, this audiobook will help you unlock the potential of every interaction. Prepare to dive deep into the science and art of communication, from practical icebreakers to navigating difficult conversations with grace. By the end of this journey, you'll be equipped to speak confidently, listen actively, and build lasting connections. So let's get started on your path to mastering the art of conversation. Chapter 1: The Foundations of Communication. Understanding the importance of nonverbal cues. Body language, eye contact, and facial expressions play a significant role in how we communicate beyond mere words. I remember a time when I struggled to express my thoughts during a crucial presentation. While I spoke confidently, I noticed that my arms were crossed and my gaze was cast downward. People were responding more to my closed-off body language than to the content of my speech. That experience taught me that our nonverbal signals can enhance or contradict what we say. When we stand tall, make eye contact, and use open gestures, we convey confidence and sincerity. For instance, a friendly smile can make a world of difference, inviting others to engage and listen attentively. It emphasizes our emotions and intentions, often communicating much more than our words ever could. Hence, harnessing the power of body language and facial expressions can significantly enhance our conversations, allowing us to connect with others on a deeper level. Recognizing nonverbal signals in others is just as crucial as being aware of our own. I recall a conversation with a coworker who seemed distracted. Although he was nodding and responding verbally, his lack of eye contact and constant fidgeting indicated that something was off. By noticing these cues, I adjusted my approach, asking whether there was something troubling him. This small adjustment led to a conversation that revealed important feedback about our project. Learning to read these nonverbal signals allows us to respond effectively, tailoring our communication style to suit the needs of those we interact with. It fosters better relationships and enhances understanding. Taking the time to observe how others express themselves through gestures, posture, and expressions can dramatically improve how we connect and engage in any situation. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, pay close attention not only to the words being spoken, but also to the body language and facial expressions of the person you're speaking with. Notice how they react to your words. A simple nod or a smile can indicate agreement, while crossed arms may suggest defensiveness. By becoming more attuned to these signals, you can elevate your conversational skills and build stronger connections. Remember that effective communication is not just about what you say, it's about how you say it and how you perceive others' responses. Practice being mindful of both your own nonverbal signals and those of the people around you, and you will find yourself mastering conversations with greater ease and confidence. The role of active listening in conversations. A fundamental technique of active listening is to demonstrate your presence and engagement in the moment. It's more than just hearing words, it's about being truly attuned to what the other person is communicating. I find that making eye contact can significantly enhance this connection. It shows the speaker that you are invested in their words. Nodding occasionally or using small verbal cues like "I see" or "interesting" further indicates that you are engaged. This kind of feedback not only encourages the speaker, but also helps you stay focused on the conversation. Removing distractions, such as your phone or even background noise, creates a conducive environment for genuine dialogue. I practice turning my body slightly toward the speaker, which subconsciously signals that I am open and attentive to their message. When I make a conscious effort to remain mentally present, the richness of the conversation transforms, allowing for deeper understanding and connection. Reflecting and summarizing what others say are powerful tools in building trust and rapport. When I paraphrase a speaker's main points, I can demonstrate that I've processed their message accurately and respect their perspective. For instance, during a discussion, I might say, "So what you're saying is," followed by a brief restatement of their key points. This approach not only validates their feelings, but also allows for clarification if I misunderstood anything. I've noticed that when I take the time to summarize and reflect, the person I'm talking to tends to feel heard and valued, which is crucial in any relationship, be it personal or professional. Additionally, showing empathy through these reflections can further strengthen the bond between us, as it reveals my willingness to engage meaningfully with them. Over time, this practice has had a noticeable effect on the quality of my relationships, transforming one-time conversations into trust-filled dialogues. Building a connection through empathy. The moment I realized how powerful empathy could be was during a simple conversation with a friend. She was going through a tough time, and instead of jumping in with solutions, I paused and truly listened. I saw the relief wash over her face when she felt heard. Empathy is crucial in creating strong interpersonal bonds because it allows us to connect on a deeper level, fostering trust and understanding. It goes beyond mere sympathy. It involves genuinely putting ourselves in someone else's position, feeling their emotions, and seeing the world through their perspective. This shift in mindset can transform our relationships, making them richer and more meaningful. To enhance my own ability to empathize, I started practicing a few simple strategies. One technique I found helpful was active listening. This means being fully present during the conversation, maintaining eye contact, and responding thoughtfully to what the other person is saying. I would often repeat back what I heard them say, not just to clarify, but to show that I was processing their thoughts and feelings. Additionally, I made an effort to ask open-ended questions that encouraged them to express themselves further. For example, instead of asking, "Are you okay?" I would inquire, "How did that situation make you feel?" This small adjustment led to deeper conversations and a stronger connection. Another powerful way to build empathy is through storytelling. Sharing personal experiences helps to create a bridge of understanding. I remember sharing a story of my own struggles with anxiety during a conversation with a colleague who was facing similar challenges. The moment I opened up, I noticed the shift in our dynamic. We moved from superficial pleasantries to a shared understanding, validating each other's feelings. Practicing empathy is not just about recognizing someone else's emotions. It's also about being vulnerable and sharing your own. By embracing this openness, we not only foster deeper connections, but also create a safe space for others to express themselves freely. Always remember, when we take a moment to truly engage with others and view the world through their lens, we cultivate empathy, which is the heart of human connection. Chapter 2. Icebreakers that work. Crafting the perfect opening line. Mastering the art of starting conversations begins with asking engaging and relevant questions. I've found that the right question can light up a conversation and encourage others to open up. For instance, instead of asking, "How are you?" consider something more specific like, "What's the most exciting thing that happened to you this week?" This kind of question not only shows genuine interest, but also invites a thoughtful response. Another effective approach is to make observations about your surroundings. When at an event, saying, "Have you tried the appetizers? They're amazing," can create an instant connection and break the ice more naturally than a standard greeting. Exploring successful opening lines offers a treasure trove of inspiration for various scenarios. For instance, in a professional setting, something like, "I was really impressed by the report you shared last week. Can you tell me how you came up with that idea?" can open up a dialogue that feels relevant and complimentary. In social situations, humor can work wonders. A lighthearted, "So, is this the best party ever or what?" may draw laughter and engage those around you. I also remember the first time I met my neighbor. I asked, What's your favorite part about living here? This simple question led to a delightful exchange about our neighborhood, revealing shared interests and building a connection. When crafting your perfect opening line, remember that the key is sincerity and curiosity. Whether you're initiating a chat at a networking event or simply trying to connect with someone at the grocery store, the right question or observation can transform an ordinary moment into a meaningful conversation. So, keep your questions open ended and be genuinely interested in the responses. You'll find that your conversations will flow more effortlessly and leave a lasting impression. Using humor to break the ice. Humor has an incredible ability to ease tension and create a friendly atmosphere. I remember a networking event where the room felt stiff and awkward. Everyone seemed to be stuck in their own bubble, avoiding eye contact and engaging in nervous chatter. That's when the keynote speaker took the stage. Instead of diving straight into his topic, he cracked a light joke about trying to navigate the parking lot chaos that morning. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. Laughter rippled through the audience, and everyone seemed to relax a little. It was a simple reminder that laughter can bridge gaps and connect people in unexpected ways. Using humor in moments of tension creates a shared experience, allowing individuals to drop their guards and engage more openly. Finding the right moment to weave humor into conversations takes a bit of practice. It's essential to strike the right balance, ensuring that the lightheartedness feels appropriate and organic. Avoid using humor that might offend, such as jokes targeting sensitive topics, as it can backfire. Instead, think of gentle observations about everyday struggles or amusing mishaps that most people can relate to. I've found that self-deprecating humor works wonders. Sharing a lighthearted story about my own blunders encourages others to share their experiences too, fostering a friendly and relaxed vibe. Remember that timing is crucial. A well-placed joke can transform a dry conversation, while forced humor might feel out of place and awkward. A gentle touch of humor can turn any stiff interaction into a pleasant exchange. When you master the art of using lightheartedness in your conversations, you'll find that people naturally gravitate towards you. Aim to keep the language simple and encourage the flow of conversation. When in doubt, observe how others react and adjust your approach accordingly. Ending a lighthearted exchange with an inclusive comment or inviting others to share their thoughts can amplify the experience. Aim to create a space where laughter and conversation flow freely, making it easier for everyone involved to connect and engage. Reading the room and adjusting your approach. Understanding the cues that inform you about the mood and dynamics of a group is crucial for successful conversations. Every gathering, be it a casual dinner or a corporate meeting, carries its own energy. I remember walking into a networking event where the crowd was lively and animated. The laughter and chatter filled the air, signaling an open and engaging atmosphere. Tuning into this lively vibe led me to approach conversations with enthusiasm and a sense of humor, which resonated well with others. Similarly, in another experience, I entered a more formal setting where the tone was subdued. Here, the body language was more reserved, with people engaged in quiet discussions rather than boisterous debates. Recognizing this, I adopted a more subdued and respectful approach. Observing factors like eye contact, body posture, and even the tone of voice can reveal a lot about the group's dynamics, helping you align your interaction style accordingly. Adapting your conversational style based on the environment is a skill that can make a significant difference in how you connect with others. I learned this firsthand during a team building workshop. Initially, I felt pressured to adopt a serious and authoritative tone, but I noticed that my colleagues were relaxed and preferred a more casual approach. By switching from my usual formality to a conversational style, I found that the group responded better. They opened up more, sharing their thoughts and creativity freely. It's important to be flexible. If you sense a relaxed vibe, don't hesitate to loosen up your language and let your personality shine through. On the other hand, maintaining professionalism is key in more serious discussions. A practical tip is to observe and then mirror the styles of those around you. This doesn't mean changing who you are, but rather presenting the most relatable version of yourself that fits the moment. Mastering the art of reading the room and adjusting your approach takes practice and awareness. By becoming attuned to the subtle signals that people give off and shifting your communication style to match, you can create a more harmonious and impactful interaction. Next time you're in a conversation, pay attention to the atmosphere and test different styles of engagement. This adaptability not only enhances the quality of your interactions, but also builds stronger connections in any setting. Chapter 3: Mastering Small Talk Topics for Different Settings. When it comes to small talk, choosing the right topic can make all the difference in social, professional, and casual environments. In social settings, people often appreciate light and fun subjects. You might discuss recent movies, popular TV shows, or engaging travel experiences. These topics allow for a relaxed exchange where everyone can share their views and connect over common interests. In professional settings, however, the approach differs. Here, I tend to lean towards industry-related news, recent developments in technology, or exciting projects I'm working on. This establishes credibility while still fostering a friendly dialogue. In casual environments, such as a gathering with friends or acquaintances, I find that talking about hobbies, weekend plans, or even favorite recipes can lead to lively discussions that bring everyone closer together. Gauging what topic resonates with your audience requires a keen sense of observation and a little intuition. Pay attention to the body language and facial expressions of the people you're talking to. Are they engaged or distracted? In conversations, I often start with a generic question to see how others react. For instance, asking about someone's weekend plans can be a great icebreaker. If they light up and share details, I know I can delve deeper into that topic. On the other hand, if they seem disinterested, it's a sign to pivot the conversation to something else. Listening actively and asking follow-up questions based on their responses shows that you value their input, which naturally enhances the connection. Every conversation is an opportunity to learn and adapt. By mastering the art of small talk, you equip yourself with the confidence to navigate various social landscapes effectively. A practical tip is to always have a few versatile topics in your back pocket. Whether it's a trend you noticed, a book you read, or an event you attended, being prepared ensures you're ready to engage, no matter the setting. Keeping the conversation flowing. Maintaining momentum in a conversation can sometimes feel like trying to pedal a bike up a hill, effortful and occasionally daunting. However, I've discovered that there are certain techniques which can help keep the dialogue rolling and sidestep those awkward pauses that often disrupt the flow. One effective method is to ask open-ended questions. Instead of sticking to yes or no inquiries, I've found that questions like, "What was the highlight of your week?" or "How did you get into your line of work?" invite the other person to share their thoughts more fully, creating opportunities for deeper discussion. Additionally, showing genuine interest in the other person's responses can spark further conversation. For instance, if someone mentions they enjoyed a trip, I might follow up with, "What was your favorite part of the trip?" This not only shows I am engaged, but opens the door to further stories and shared experiences, keeping the conversation lively. Transitions are another crucial aspect of effective conversation. I've learned to weave in phrases that naturally guide the discussion from one topic to another. For example, if we're talking about hobbies and the subject seems to be winding down, I might say something like, "Speaking of interests, I recently discovered something fascinating about." This not only transitions us to a new topic, but also relates it back to what we were already discussing, making it feel seamless. Another great transition technique involves simply acknowledging the previous topic before shifting gears, such as saying, "That reminds me," or "While we're on the subject of travel." These phrases provide a bridge, ensuring the chat remains connected yet fresh. Equipping ourselves with these conversational tools, open-ended questions, and smooth transitions can significantly enhance our interaction experience. A practical tip is to prepare a few go-to questions or phrases ahead of time, especially for social events where conversation can be unpredictable. By doing this, you'll feel more confident and ready to engage in any dialogue, making it easier to keep the conversation flowing without the fear of awkward silences. Recognizing and avoiding pitfalls. Every conversation has its potential pitfalls, especially when it comes to small talk. It's easy to fall into common traps that can derail the flow of discussion. One such trap is the tendency to dominate the conversation. I've seen many people unaware of their inclination to speak more than their fair share, sharing stories that may not resonate with the listener. Another issue that often crops up is discussing sensitive topics too early or without gauging the other person's comfort level. Touchy subjects like politics or religion can lead to awkward silences and rapid topic changes. Equally, making assumptions about someone's experiences can also hinder connection. When you presume that someone knows exactly what you're talking about without asking, you risk alienating or even frustrating them. These traps can lead to a conversation that feels stilted, leaving both parties feeling unsatisfied. Steering clear of these conversational pitfalls requires a bit of self-awareness and flexibility. One effective strategy is to practice active listening. By genuinely engaging with what the other person is saying, you can respond in a manner that invites them to share more about themselves rather than just focusing on your own experiences. It's also beneficial to have a mental checklist of neutral topics that can pivot the conversation away from anything too sensitive. For instance, you might bring up a recent event or a common interest, like favorite books or movies. Additionally, checking in with the other person to see if they are comfortable with the direction of the conversation can go a long way. Asking open-ended questions allows them to share their thoughts freely. The goal is to create a space where both parties feel heard and valued, fostering a genuine connection. Every conversation is an opportunity to connect, and by being attuned to these potential pitfalls, we can engage more meaningfully. Remember, it's all about balance. Share your thoughts, but also encourage others to share theirs. Practicing these strategies will not only elevate your small talk skills, but will also ensure that your conversations leave a positive impression. Chapter 4: Navigating Difficult Conversations. Preparing for Tough Discussions. Outlining my thoughts before a tough conversation has always been a game changer for me. It takes away the stress of just winging it and allows me to feel more organized and confident. I start by jotting down the key points I want to cover. This could be feelings that need to be expressed, topics that need resolution, or important questions I want to ask. Writing them down helps me see the bigger picture and prevents me from getting sidetracked during the discussion. For example, just recently, I had to talk to a colleague about a project that had gone off track. By outlining my concerns and the possible solutions beforehand, I felt more in control and was able to lead the conversation in a productive direction. I didn't feel like I was fumbling for words, which really made the discussion more constructive. Setting goals for discussions is equally crucial. When I go into a tough conversation without clear objectives, it's easy to get bogged down or distracted by emotions. Defining what I want to achieve can range from simply resolving a misunderstanding to seeking agreement on an important matter. For instance, during a challenging talk about workload distribution with my team, I aimed for clarity and collaboration. I wanted not only to express my own concerns, but also to invite input from others. By having this goal in mind, the conversation felt more like a teamwork exercise rather than a confrontation. I encourage everyone to establish what the perfect outcome looks like before diving into difficult discussions, as it helps guide the dialogue forward rather than getting caught in a cycle of negativity or defensiveness. Being prepared doesn't mean scripting every word. It means being aware of your feelings and objectives. Take some quiet time before your conversation to reflect on what you want from the discussion and how you want to feel afterward as well. This preparation sets the tone and often leads to more fruitful conversations, encouraging an engaging atmosphere where both parties can feel heard and understood. Have this mindset ready. Getting through tough discussions is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. So, the next time you know a difficult conversation is looming, take a moment to prepare your thoughts and outline your goals. You'll be surprised at how much more confidently you can approach the situation. Staying calm under pressure. Managing anxiety and maintaining composure in stressful situations is a skill that can significantly change the way we handle life's challenges. I've found that recognizing the physical signs of anxiety, like a racing heart or clenched fists, can be the first step toward calming myself. Once I notice these signals, I can employ various techniques to regain control. One effective strategy is to shift my focus. When carrying the weight of pressure, I consciously redirect my attention to the task at hand. I remind myself that it's normal to feel nervous and that I can respond instead of reacting. By visualizing a positive outcome and framing the situation as an opportunity rather than a threat, I create a mental environment conducive to calmness and confidence. Breathing and mindfulness exercises have played a pivotal role in my ability to find center when the stakes are high. I often practice deep breathing, where I inhale through my nose for a count of 4, hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale through my mouth for 6 seconds. This simple exercise can lower my heart rate and clear my mind, making a world of difference during tense moments. Mindfulness, on the other hand, encourages me to stay present. I focus on my senses, the sound of my breathing, the feeling of my feet against the ground, reminding myself that I am solid and grounded in the here and now. This practice has given me the tools to respond thoughtfully rather than getting swept away by emotions. One practical tip that I carry with me is to create a personal mantra. It can be something as simple as "I can handle this" or "this too shall pass." Whenever I feel my anxiety rising, I repeat this phrase quietly to myself. It's a reminder that while I may face difficulties, I have the strength and resources to navigate them. Integrating these strategies into daily practice has transformed my approach to stress, allowing me to stand tall and confident no matter what challenges come my way. Finding common ground. Recognizing the value of shared perspectives and mutual interests in difficult talks can transform the way we communicate. Often, in the heat of a disagreement, it's easy to focus solely on our viewpoints, but when I've taken a moment to step back and appreciate the other person's perspective, I've created an environment where open dialogue can flourish. For example, during a challenging negotiation, acknowledging a colleague's concern about budget constraints helped ease tensions and laid the foundation for a collaborative approach. By finding that common piece we both cared about, we were able to brainstorm solutions that satisfied us both. This practice isn't just about compromising. It's about discovering what's truly important to both parties and using that to guide the conversation toward a productive outcome. Learning strategies for guiding discussions toward agreement and collaboration has been a game changer for me. One effective method involves asking open-ended questions that invite the other person to share their thoughts and feelings. This technique not only provides clarity, but often reveals shared goals and interests that were previously overlooked. For instance, I once facilitated a meeting where two different departments clashed over project priorities. Rather than steering the conversation toward blame, I encouraged each side to articulate their main objectives. This method unveiled that both departments ultimately wanted to improve customer satisfaction, which shifted the focus from conflict to collaboration. Additionally, summarizing what I heard from each party and reflecting it back has been invaluable in ensuring everyone feels understood. By creating a space where everyone's voice is valued, the likelihood of reaching a collaborative agreement increases significantly. As these conversations unfold, it's essential to remain patient and open. Emotions can run high, and maintaining a calm demeanor encourages others to do the same. When faced with resistance, I've found that acknowledging the emotions at play often diffuses tension. Saying something like, "I can see this is really important to you," shows empathy and can encourage the other person to lower their defenses. This approach doesn't mean you abandon your own needs, but rather frame the conversation around mutual interests. The more we practice finding common ground, the more naturally it comes, empowering us to engage confidently and productively in even the most challenging discussions. Chapter 5. The Art of Asking Questions. Open versus closed questions. Knowing when to use each, understanding the difference between open and closed questions is essential for effective engagement in conversations. Open questions invite expansive responses, encouraging dialogue and deeper insights. For instance, instead of asking, "Did you enjoy the concert?" which restricts the answer to a simple yes or no. You might ask, "What did you think of the concert?" This invites the other person to share their thoughts and feelings more freely, leading to a richer exchange. Closed questions, on the other hand, limit responses and are best used when you need specific information or a quick confirmation. Asking, "What time does the meeting start?" is straightforward and efficient, allowing for clarity without unnecessary elaboration. In practice, knowing when to employ each type of question can significantly impact the flow of conversation. For example, in a job interview, closed questions can quickly verify a candidate's qualifications. "Have you worked with XYZ software?" A simple answer suffices here. However, when assessing a candidate's problem-solving abilities, an open question like, "Can you describe a challenging project you worked on and how you addressed the challenges?" opens a window into their thought process and creativity, revealing much more than just their technical skills. The benefit of using the right type of question becomes clear when you consider the outcomes. Engaging someone in a discussion about their passions or experiences using open questions can build a connection that fosters trust and engagement, while using closed questions efficiently can drive a conversation toward clarity and resolution. To master conversations confidently, practice switching between these questioning styles based on your objectives. Whenever you meet someone new, try beginning with open questions to create a comfortable atmosphere. As the conversation progresses, strategically use closed questions to guide the discussion or to seek concrete information. This approach not only enhances your conversations, but also encourages others to open up, leading to more meaningful connections. Remember, the right question at the right moment can turn a simple discussion into a memorable exchange. The power of follow-up questions. Follow-up questions play a pivotal role in deepening conversations. When we engage in dialogue, it's easy to skim the surface, exchanging basic pleasantries or answers. However, real connection happens when we dig deeper. I remember during a networking event, I met someone who shared a fascinating story about their recent trip. Instead of simply nodding along, I followed up with questions that showed my curiosity, like how they felt about a particular experience on the trip. Their face lit up, and our conversation blossomed from that moment. This shift from surface-level chatter to meaningful discussion not only made them feel valued, but also allowed me to learn so much more than I would have otherwise. Follow-up questions help break down barriers and create an atmosphere where both parties feel comfortable sharing their insights and emotions. Formulating follow-up questions that demonstrate genuine interest is an art that can be learned. It begins with active listening, truly paying attention to what the other person is saying. For instance, if a friend mentions they're passionate about gardening, you might ask, "What's your favorite plant to grow and why?" This question goes beyond the typical, "Oh, that's nice," prompting them to delve into their love of gardening. When I started practicing this approach, I noticed conversations flowed much more naturally. It's essential to keep the dialogue centered on the other person by asking open-ended questions that encourage them to share more. By inviting them to elaborate, you not only spark their enthusiasm, but also gather valuable insights that can deepen your understanding of their perspective. Course after course in conversation took me through the spectrum of interactions, whether casual chats or more nuanced discussions. The takeaway is that follow-up questions are your best tool for mastering the art of conversation. When you approach conversations with a mindset of curiosity and an eagerness to learn, you empower others to share their stories. A simple, "Tell me more about that," can open up a wealth of dialogue, creating a space for mutual discovery. Tapping into this technique transforms ordinary conversations into meaningful exchanges. Remember, the more you practice, the more confident you will become in utilizing follow-up questions to enhance your interactions in any situation. Encouraging deeper responses. Having conversations that dig a little deeper requires intention and a few well-chosen techniques. One effective approach is to ask open-ended questions, which encourage longer and more thoughtful responses. Instead of just asking someone if they had a good day, try framing the question as, "What was the best part of your day?" This slight shift encourages them to reflect and share more about their experiences. It's amazing how just tweaking the wording can lead to richer conversations. I found that when I use silence effectively after asking a question, it gives the other person room to think. I remember a time when I paused after asking a friend about their recent trip. Initially, I thought they might feel compelled to rush into an answer, but instead, they filled the silence with an amazing narrative filled with details I would have missed otherwise. Understanding comfort levels is equally vital in fostering sharing. It's important to pay attention to body language and tone to gauge how at ease someone feels with a topic. If they seem hesitant or closed off, I might choose to address that directly by saying something like, I understand this might be a sensitive topic. Feel free to share only what you're comfortable with. This not only normalizes their feelings, but also helps build trust. There was a time I was having a conversation with a colleague about personal goals, and when I sensed she was getting nervous, I moved the conversation towards lighter topics before circling back to her aspirations. This approach helped her feel more secure, and she eventually opened up in a way that surprised both of us. Creating an environment where sharing is encouraged can be as simple as expressing genuine interest. Make eye contact, nod, and respond affirmatively to what they are saying. It's about being present and showing that you value their thoughts. I've found that when people feel heard, they're much more willing to share deeper insights. A useful tip is to share a bit about yourself first. This can create a reciprocal feeling of vulnerability. By revealing a piece of my own story, I've noticed it often inspires others to share in kind, leading to conversations that are not only deeper, but also significantly more meaningful. Chapter 6. When to share personal stories. Structuring your narratives for impact. Crafting personal stories is an art that requires thought and intention. A compelling story isn't just about what happened, it's about how you tell it. For instance, I remember a time when I struggled to communicate an important lesson from my life during a group discussion. Instead of merely stating the facts, I painted a vivid picture, sharing the emotions I felt in that moment. I described the sights and sounds around me, the tension in my chest, and the realization that struck me like lightning. This approach created a connection that turns a simple statement into an experience the audience can share. The key is to be relatable. If I can resonate with my audience on an emotional level, I can draw them into the narrative. Choosing the right details to share, the moments that feel significant to you, allows others to see parts of themselves in your story, creating a sense of commonality that invites their engagement. The timing and relevance of your story play a crucial role in its effectiveness. It's not just about what you say and how you say it, it's also about when you share it. I learned this firsthand when I attempted to share a story about personal failure during a celebration. The audience was exuberant and in no mood for heavy reflections. In contrast, another time, I shared a story about perseverance during a moment of doubt in a workshop setting, which resonated deeply with an audience seeking inspiration. It was as if my words were precisely the lifeline they needed. Understanding the context of your audience and the atmosphere helps in deciding the right moment to sprinkle in your stories. When your narrative feels relevant to the conversation and the current emotions in the room, it transforms from a mere anecdote into a profound connection that lingers long after the words are spoken. As you navigate your storytelling journey, remember to wield your narrative with purpose. Think not only about the content, but also about the emotional landscape of your audience. Tailoring your story to fit the moment can elevate your message, making it memorable and impactful. Practice this awareness in your daily conversations. Notice when people are open to deeper connections and when they prefer lighthearted exchanges. By remaining attuned to these nuances, you can share your stories with confidence, knowing that each tale you tell has the potential to inspire, connect, and leave a lasting impression. The next time you're unsure about how to share a part of your life, think about the timing and relevance, and let your stories naturally come forth when they can make the most impact. Tailoring your stories to your audience. Understanding the audience is essential because their backgrounds, experiences, and expectations shape how they receive our stories. Different factors influence this reception. For example, age can play a significant role. A story that resonates with a teenager may not have the same impact on an elderly audience. Cultural context also matters. Stories tied to specific traditions or beliefs may evoke strong responses in some groups while falling flat with others. Additionally, the setting in which the story is shared, such as a formal presentation versus a casual gathering, can dictate the level of detail and the tone we should adopt. Each of these elements helps us craft stories that not only connect, but also leave a lasting impression. Tailoring narratives to suit different settings can dramatically change the reception of our stories. When I told a personal story about failure during a creative writing workshop, I focused on vulnerability and growth, which resonated with the aspiring writers in the room. However, in a corporate setting, when sharing a similar tale, I emphasized the lessons learned and the strategies for overcoming challenges, aligning the story with the audience's professional context. Another example is adjusting humor. A lighthearted anecdote worked wonders at a friend's wedding, but the same joke about a mishap fell flat during a solemn business meeting. Context nudges us to adapt our narratives so they are relatable and appropriate, demonstrating respect for the audience's values and experiences. To effectively tailor your stories, always consider who your audience is, what they value, and the setting where the story will be shared. A practical tip is to observe your audience before you speak. Listen to their conversations and note their reactions to different topics. This can give you valuable insight into what will resonate with them. Don't hesitate to modify your approach mid-story if you feel the audience's interest waning. Engaging your listeners can be as simple as asking questions or inviting them to share their thoughts, which helps create a two-way conversation. By being attuned to your audience, you can ensure your narratives hit home and foster meaningful connections. Balancing personal and professional life. Sharing personal information in a professional context can feel tricky. In my own experience, I've learned that the key to navigating this lies in being intentional about what I share and when I share it. For instance, during a team lunch, opening up about a recent family trip can create a bond with coworkers. However, I've discovered that oversharing can lead to discomfort, so I focus on relatable experiences that foster connection without diving too deep into private matters. Finding the balance means knowing your audience. What might be comfortable for one group might not be for another. I remember when I shared a story about my gardening hobby during a project meeting. It sparked a lively discussion, helping us transition into a more creative mindset. This was an effective way to break the ice without revealing too much personal detail. Recognizing those moments when sharing makes sense is crucial for building rapport while keeping a professional demeanor. Establishing boundaries is essential in maintaining professionalism while also building connections. I've found that clear, respectful communication helps define those lines. For example, if a colleague starts probing into my personal life, I gently steer the conversation back to a neutral topic. A simple, "I appreciate your interest, but I'd rather keep our conversation focused on work," can affirm your boundaries without dismissing the other person. On the other hand, I've also seen benefits when colleagues share snippets of their lives that lead to understanding each other better. Sharing how a personal commitment affects my availability, like a class I'm taking, allowed coworkers to understand my schedule while fostering support. The goal is to build a professional relationship where personal insights enrich our collaboration rather than complicate it. Each interaction is a chance to adjust and refine our boundaries while remaining approachable and professional. As you navigate the fine line between personal and professional sharing, consider your values and the context of your conversations. Assess what feels right for you and what contributes to your professional environment. A quick tip I can offer is to start with neutral, lighter topics before moving into personal territory. This approach can gauge the other person's comfort level and help you decide how much to share. When you respect your own boundaries while engaging authentically, you'll find that the balance becomes easier over time. This blending of personal and professional lives offers a path to deeper connections without sacrificing your professional integrity. Chapter 7: Engaging with different personality types, identifying and adapting to different styles. The way we communicate is deeply intertwined with our personality traits. Understanding these traits can greatly influence how we connect with others. For instance, extroverted individuals often display enthusiasm and expressiveness, thriving in lively discussions. In contrast, introverts may prefer depth over breadth in conversations, focusing on meaningful topics rather than small talk. Validators of these personality styles are often found in their comfort zones. In groups, extroverts tend to engage quickly, while introverts may take time to reflect before sharing. Recognizing these differences in ourselves and others allows us to navigate conversations more smoothly. Analyzing your own communication style can lead to improved interactions, whether you tend to be direct, analytical, or empathetic. For example, I once found myself in a meeting dominated by analytical thinkers. I realized that my usual straightforwardness was not resonating with them. Instead, I tailored my approach, providing data and structured reasoning, making it easier for them to connect with what I was saying. Strategies for introverted versus extroverted individuals. Understanding the unique needs and preferences of introverts and extroverts can transform the way we interact with each other. Introverts often recharge in solitude, finding peace in quiet environments. They may prefer deep conversations over small talk and appreciate when others listen attentively. For instance, when I engage with an introverted friend, I've noticed how a cozy cafe setting works wonders. It allows for intimate discussions without the overwhelming buzz of a crowded bar. On the other hand, extroverts thrive in energetic settings and are energized by social interactions. They enjoy sharing ideas and stories, often jumping into conversations with enthusiasm. I remember meeting an extroverted colleague at a networking event. Their ability to connect with just about anyone made the atmosphere lively and engaging, turning strangers into friends almost effortlessly. Recognizing these unique preferences helps in creating environments where both types can flourish, whether at work, in social settings, or during casual gatherings. Specific techniques to engage both personality types effectively can help create fulfilling conversations. For introverts, starting with open-ended questions can draw them into dialogue without feeling pressured. I've found that asking about their thoughts on a recent movie or book makes for an engaging discussion. It allows them to express their ideas at their own pace, fostering a comfortable space. On the flip side, extroverts often enjoy dynamic interactions. Encouraging them to share their experiences can keep the conversation lively. I once attended a seminar where extroverted attendees were invited to share their takeaways, and it sparked a lively discussion. Their passion was contagious and gave quieter attendees a chance to chime in when they felt comfortable. Using these targeted approaches not only builds rapport but also enriches the conversation itself, mixing different perspectives. Connecting with analytical versus emotional communicators. Understanding the differences between analytical and emotional communicators can significantly enhance our interactions. Analytical communicators typically focus on facts, data, and logic. They tend to be detail-oriented and prefer structured conversations where ideas are presented in a straightforward manner. For instance, I remember having a brainstorming session with a colleague who was very analytical. As I shared my creative ideas, he interjected with statistics and logical frameworks that clarified my thoughts, but also led me to realize that I needed to ground my ideas in concrete data to resonate with him. In contrast, emotional communicators prioritize feelings and personal experiences. They are often more expressive and value connection over data. I once had a conversation with a friend who was facing a tough situation. While I was equipped with practical advice, I recognized that what she truly needed was empathy and understanding. I shifted my approach to be more supportive, allowing the conversation to flow in a way that acknowledged her feelings, which ultimately helped her feel heard and validated. Creating synergy between these two styles involves a bit of careful navigation. When I communicate with someone who leans towards analytical thinking, I find it effective to present my ideas alongside relevant data and logical reasoning. This bridges the gap, making it easier for them to appreciate my perspective. On the other hand, when engaging with someone who communicates emotionally, I focus on connecting through storytelling and sharing personal experiences, which often leads to deeper, more meaningful conversations. One practical tip is to observe the cues your conversation partner gives. If they lean towards facts, adapt to their style by incorporating data. If they are more emotional, respond with empathy and understanding. By being adaptable and aware of the communication styles around us, we can foster stronger relationships and facilitate more productive discussions. Chapter 8: The Power of Body Language. Understanding Facial Expressions. Learning to interpret a range of facial expressions can be a powerful tool in communication. For instance, when I first started paying attention to people's faces, I realized how much information was conveyed through subtle movements. A raised eyebrow can signal surprise or skepticism, while a tight-lipped smile might indicate discomfort or reluctance. I remember attending a meeting where the tension in the room was palpable. One colleague appeared to be nodding in agreement, but her clenched jaw and narrowed eyes revealed uncertainty. Recognizing these signs helped me navigate the conversation more effectively. Different cultures have varying ways of expressing emotions, so contextual awareness is essential. For example, in some cultures, direct eye contact is a sign of confidence, while in others, it may be perceived as rude. Understanding these cultural nuances can significantly enhance your ability to interpret facial cues. In addition to interpreting others' expressions, understanding my own facial cues has been equally enlightening. I once had a habit of frowning during intense conversations, not realizing that my expression projected disapproval or skepticism. A trusted friend pointed it out to me, and that feedback was invaluable. Now, I consciously check my facial expressions to ensure they align with my verbal messages. For example, during a tough discussion, I strive to maintain an open expression, reflecting my intention to listen. This alignment between my facial signals and spoken words often leads to more productive conversations. It encourages others to engage positively and diminishes misunderstandings. Remember that your face often speaks louder than your words. Being aware of this can transform how others perceive you. One practical tip is to practice in front of a mirror or record your conversations. This helps you become more aware of your natural expressions and how they might be interpreted. Observing your face can offer insights into making adjustments that enhance your communication effectiveness. For example, practice smiling genuinely, as this can create a welcoming atmosphere in any interaction. Engaging with people in this way fosters better connections and encourages openness. Committing to understanding both your own and others' facial expressions will enable you to master conversations with confidence, regardless of the setting. Posture and movement in conversations. Posture plays a crucial role in how we communicate. When I meet someone for the first time, I consciously stand tall, shoulders back, and my head held high. This simple posture radiates confidence and openness, making others feel more at ease. It's fascinating how much can be expressed non-verbally. For instance, leaning slightly forward can indicate interest, while crossing your arms might suggest defensiveness. I remember a time when I was in a meeting, and I noticed how some of my colleagues slumped in their chairs, which inadvertently created a less engaging environment. A strong, open posture not only conveys your message more effectively, but also helps you feel more confident as you speak. Engaging in dialogue with a relaxed but alert posture invites others to open up and share their thoughts freely. Movement is another critical aspect of conversation that many overlook. There's a fine art to integrating movement in your discussions, whether you're sitting or standing. I've noticed that shifting my weight from one foot to another while conversing can convey a natural enthusiasm, making the dialogue feel more dynamic. Awareness of personal space is equally essential. Standing too close to someone can feel intimidating, while being too far away can seem disengaged. I often take a moment to gauge the distance, adjusting my position based on the other person's comfort level. This spatial awareness allows for a more relaxed interaction. For example, during a coffee chat with a colleague, I found that moving slightly closer while maintaining an open stance encouraged her to share her ideas with greater enthusiasm. Understanding the synergy of posture and movement can significantly enhance your conversational skills. I've learned that by being mindful of how I carry myself and how I move during conversations, I can foster a more inviting atmosphere for dialogue. A practical tip is to practice your posture and movements in front of a mirror or with a trusted friend. Observe how different stances and gestures affect the energy in the conversation. The next time you engage with someone, pay close attention to your body language. It can transform the way you connect with others and express your thoughts. Mirroring, building rapport through body language. Mirroring the body language of others can create an instant connection. I remember meeting someone at a networking event who had such a warm and open demeanor. As soon as we started talking, I noticed how naturally I began to reflect their posture and gestures. When they leaned slightly forward, I found myself doing the same. It's almost instinctual, isn't it? This nonverbal exchange helped us bond quickly, making the conversation flow effortlessly and creating a sense of comfort between us. Mirroring isn't just about mimicking, it's about demonstrating empathy and understanding. When someone sees their own gestures and expressions reflected back at them, it reinforces feelings of trust and connection. In my experience, subtle mirroring of facial expressions, eye contact, and even vocal tone can enhance the depth of conversations significantly. Understanding when and how to employ mirroring is key to making it effective. The best moments to start mirroring are in the early stages of a conversation, especially when you sense a lull or when the other person seems withdrawn. For instance, if you're in a meeting and someone appears anxious or guarded, softening your posture or nodding in a calming manner can create a more inviting atmosphere. It's essential, however, to remain subtle. Overly exaggerated mimicking can feel awkward and insincere. A good rule of thumb is to adopt the other person's gestures a few moments after they do. This timing makes it appear organic. I've found that even mirroring simpler actions, like taking a sip of your drink when they do, can enhance rapport without drawing too much attention. Ultimately, mastering mirroring allows you to engage in conversations with confidence and authenticity. Practice this skill in everyday interactions, whether it's chatting with a colleague or catching up with friends. Start by being observant. Notice how others express themselves, and try reflecting those cues in your own way. You'll find that as you become more attuned to the dynamics at play, your conversations will feel more meaningful. A practical tip to keep in mind is to ensure that your mirroring is always accompanied by genuine interest. The goal is to build a bridge of connection rather than create a facade. By approaching interactions with this mindset, you're guaranteed to find that dialogue flows more freely, fostering deeper connections in any scenario. Chapter 9: Leveraging Technology in Communication. Communicating effectively via text. Texting is an interesting and often misunderstood way of communicating. What makes it unique is how it can change the message depending on how we use various elements like emojis, punctuation, and even the sheer brevity of our words. I've found that texting often strips the nuances present in face-to-face conversations or even phone calls. When I first started communicating predominantly via text, I faced challenges deciphering tone and intent, particularly in messages from friends and colleagues. A simple okay could be read as agreement or annoyance, depending on the context and how well I knew the person. To navigate this effectively, one must pay attention to how their wording might be perceived. For example, using exclamation points can convey excitement, while periods might feel abrupt or even cold. Recognizing these subtleties can enhance our interactions tremendously. A solid approach to achieving clarity in text messages lies in the awareness of tone and structure. I've experimented with various ways of phrasing messages to see how small changes can shift interpretations dramatically. Instead of sending a straightforward message like, "Can we talk?" I started asking, "Could we chat for a few minutes when you have a chance?" This simple adjustment seemed to soften the request and made it sound more considerate, sparking a positive reaction from the recipient. Also, when you're unsure how a message might come across, it can be beneficial to include an emoji or a friendly phrase to put warmth into the conversation. A well-placed smiley can show that you're being playful or humorous, while a sad face can indicate empathy towards a situation someone is going through. Finally, it helps to think about the context and how the relationship you share with someone influences your messaging style. For instance, I usually keep things a bit more formal with work colleagues than with my friends. In professional settings, I aim for clarity and politeness, often avoiding ambiguous phrases that might confuse someone unfamiliar with my tone. Keep in mind that investing some time in drafting a thoughtful message can lead to more fruitful conversations. As a tip, when in doubt, try reading your messages aloud before hitting send. This technique can help catch potential miscommunications, allowing you to adjust your text to ensure it aligns with the message you truly want to convey. Video calls. Tips for virtual conversations. Presenting yourself professionally on video calls can transform your virtual interactions from awkward to impactful. One key element is your environment. Choose a quiet, well-lit space where you won't be interrupted. Natural light is great for illumination, so if possible, position your camera facing a window to get that soft glow. If you're shooting in less than perfect lighting, I've found that adding a simple desk lamp can do wonders. Make sure the background is tidy and reflects a bit of your personality without being distracting. A bookshelf filled with interesting titles or a piece of art can serve as great conversation starters. Your attire matters too. Dressing as you would for an in-person meeting sets a professional tone. Even if you're only visible from the waist up, wearing the full business outfit can shift your mindset and boost your confidence. I've learned over time that when I put in the effort to look polished, it positively impacts not only how others perceive me, but also how I conduct myself. Maintaining engagement in virtual meetings requires a conscious effort. Active listening plays a big role. Nodding occasionally, using verbal affirmations, and asking open-ended questions keeps the conversation flowing and encourages others to share. I like to summarize what others say before responding. It shows that I value their input and helps keep everyone connected. When presenting, remember to speak directly to the camera rather than your screen. It creates a sense of eye contact, which can make a big difference in how engaging the conversation feels. Incorporating visual aids or slides can also capture attention, but be careful not to overload your screen with information. Keeping visuals simple and relevant helps keep your audience glued to what you're saying. Lastly, a quick tip. Practice comes in handy. Before important calls, I often rehearse what I plan to discuss, either in front of a mirror or in a quiet room. This practice not only boosts my confidence, but also helps me present my thoughts clearly and concisely. With these strategies, you'll find that mastering video calls becomes second nature, allowing you to shine brightly in any virtual conversation. Social media, engaging beyond face-to-face. Effective communication on social media is all about knowing how to engage with your audience, regardless of the platform you choose. Strategies vary significantly between Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok, but the foundation of good communication remains the same. I've found that being concise is key. Attention spans online are short. When I want to capture attention, I often start with a compelling question or an eye-catching statement that invites curiosity. For instance, posting a thought-provoking quote related to your field can spark conversations. Visual content also plays a crucial role. Images and videos generally get more interactions than plain text. Experimenting with different formats has led me to discover effective ways to communicate messages without overwhelming my audience. The use of storytelling often works wonders too. Sharing snippets of my journey or experiences in a relatable manner helps create a personal connection with followers. Navigating online interactions while keeping authenticity at the forefront can be challenging, yet it is essential. People crave genuine connections, and I've noticed that showing vulnerability can actually strengthen your online presence. When I share not only my successes, but also my struggles, it encourages others to engage on a deeper level. It's important to respond thoughtfully to comments and messages. Acknowledging someone's point of view, even if it differs from yours, can foster respectful dialogue. Additionally, I make it a point to occasionally step back and evaluate my online persona. Is it really me, or is it a curated version? Staying true to myself has helped me draw in more authentic connections. Using humor, when appropriate, can also lighten the mood and make conversations more engaging. At the end of the day, every interaction online is an opportunity to build relationships, just as we would in person. One useful tip I've learned is to be consistent yet flexible in your approach. Consistency in posting ensures that your audience knows when to expect new content, but it's also crucial to adapt to the feedback you receive. If a particular type of post garners more engagement, don't hesitate to pivot and create more of that content. Remember that social media is a two-way street. You should listen as much as you communicate. Tracking metrics on each platform can provide valuable insights about what resonates with your audience. Set aside time weekly to assess how your content is performing and engage in conversations that matter, as aiming for meaningful interactions over quantity can make a significant difference in your online communication experience. Chapter 10: Overcoming Communication Barriers. Addressing language and cultural differences. Language and culture are two powerful forces that shape our experiences, especially in conversations. I remember a time when I was traveling abroad and thought I had my language basics down pat. I confidently approached a local restaurant, excited to indulge in some traditional food. However, as soon as I began ordering, I quickly realized that my pronunciation was off, and the waiter was struggling to understand me. This experience underscores how language can create barriers. Cultural nuances further complicate interactions. For example, gestures that seem friendly in one culture might be offensive in another. Understanding these subtleties is crucial because they affect how we communicate, how messages are interpreted, and ultimately how well we connect with others. Bridging these gaps requires both awareness and skill. One effective technique is to practice active listening. This means truly focusing on what the other person is saying rather than just planning your next response. I often find that when I focus on the speaker, not only do I catch nuances in their language and tone, but I also gain insights into their cultural references. Another practical approach is to ask clarifying questions. If something is unclear, a simple, "What do you mean by that?" can go a long way in creating understanding. Embracing the use of nonverbal communication can also be incredibly helpful. Gestures, facial expressions, and even drawing things out can replace words when language is lacking. I have personally used sketches to explain ideas when words failed me, and it has led to some wonderful understanding and laughter. Practice makes perfect when it comes to navigating language and cultural differences. Surround yourself with diverse groups of people and engage in conversations rather than shying away from them. Join language exchange groups, attend cultural events, or simply have coffee with someone from a different background. Each interaction is an opportunity to learn, adapt, and build your confidence. Remember that making mistakes is a part of the learning process. They often lead to the most memorable moments and deeper connections. So go out there, embrace the differences, and transform potential barriers into bridges for meaningful dialogue. Navigating emotional blockages. Emotions have a powerful way of influencing our communication, often clouding our ability to express ourselves clearly or understand others. I once found myself in a heated discussion where my anxiety around being misunderstood heightened and all sense of clarity vanished. It was as if I was speaking through a thick fog. Whenever emotions run high, our words can become tangled, leading to misinterpretations and frustrations. The trick lies in recognizing when emotions are taking over. Grounding techniques, such as taking a deep breath before responding or pausing for a moment to gather your thoughts, can create a clearer space for dialogue. It's essential to step back and assess whether your emotions are truly serving the situation or if they're adding to the chaos. Identifying emotional blockages in conversations can be transformative. I learned to notice those patterns by paying attention to physical cues in myself and others. For example, if I felt a tightness in my chest during a discussion, it often indicated that I was about to respond out of frustration rather than understanding. I started practicing active listening, which meant really focusing on what the other person was saying, instead of just waiting for my turn to speak. Reflecting back what I heard allowed me to clarify any miscommunications before they escalated into arguments. When addressing emotions directly, it's beneficial to express how you feel using I statements. This approach minimizes defensiveness and fosters an open flow of dialogue, making it easier to address the underlying issues without letting emotions drive a wedge between the conversation. A practical tip is to prepare for potentially emotional discussions by setting a calm environment before diving in. Whether it's a private room or a quiet cafe, creating a peaceful atmosphere can help ease tensions. Additionally, practice empathy by putting yourself in the other person's shoes, aiming to understand their feelings and perspectives. This mindset not only opens up a pathway for effective resolution, but also builds trust, making future conversations smoother. By focusing on emotional awareness and fostering an environment conducive to open communication, you can transform the way you engage with others, making every conversation a chance to connect and grow. Strategies for handling misunderstandings. Misunderstandings often stem from a variety of common causes. One moment, you're engaged in a lively conversation, and then the next, it feels like you've hit a wall. Perhaps the other person misinterpreted your tone or took your words the wrong way. I've experienced this firsthand during a project meeting where I innocently remarked that a proposed idea might not be viable. The look of confusion and a bit of hurt on my colleague's face was undeniable. Recognizing that misunderstandings can arise from ambiguous language, differing cultural backgrounds, or even emotional states helps in addressing them promptly. Instead of letting frustration build, I learned to pause and clarify my statements right then and there. Simply asking, "What did you think I meant?" can open the door to a much-needed dialogue, helping both parties find common ground before anything escalates. Clarifying intentions is crucial in restoring communication, and the way we approach these moments matters significantly. I've found that a simple, sincere apology can go a long way when misunderstandings arise. For instance, during a family gathering, I unintentionally offended a relative by joking about a heated topic. It was one of those situations where I didn't mean any harm, but the laughter around the table quickly turned into silence. Realizing the impact of my words, I took a moment to acknowledge their feelings. "I'm really sorry if my joke upset you. That wasn't my intention at all," I said. This acknowledgement not only eased the tension, but also encouraged them to share their perspective. Emphasizing empathetic listening, making a conscious effort to hear and understand the other person's point of view, creates a safe space for dialogue. In any interaction, whether casual or formal, showing genuine concern and the willingness to listen can often clear the fog of misconceptions. In navigating conversations, we can become masters in clearing misunderstandings by incorporating patience and active engagement into our communication toolkit. A practical tip that I swear by is to always reflect back what the other person has said before responding. For example, if there's a disagreement, I might say, "So what I'm hearing is that you feel frustrated because..." This practice confirms that I've understood their points while providing an opportunity for correction if I've missed the mark. As we continuously refine our communication skills, remember that misunderstandings are merely stepping stones towards more profound understanding. By staying attentive and open-hearted, we foster an environment where clarity prevails, facilitating richer and more meaningful conversations. Chapter 11. Feedback and conversation growth, giving constructive criticism. Learning the art of delivering feedback that is both kind and effective is essential in creating positive relationships, whether in the workplace, among friends, or within family dynamics. My first experience with giving constructive criticism came during a team project at work. I noticed a colleague's work lacked some clarity and depth. Instead of diving right in with negative comments, I approached the situation with empathy. I began our conversation by acknowledging the effort they put into their work. I said, "I really appreciate how much detail you've included in your report. It shows your dedication." This approach eased them into the feedback process. I then pointed out specific areas where they could enhance their clarity by suggesting, "What if we added a few examples to illustrate these points better?" This method helps the person feel valued, making them more open to improving their work. Understanding how to frame criticism is paramount to encouraging improvement without discouragement. I have found that using I statements instead of you statements can profoundly change the tone of a conversation. Instead of saying, "You didn't follow the format we discussed," try framing it as, "I noticed the format isn't quite what we discussed, and I think some adjustments could really enhance it." This subtle shift indicates that the suggestion is about the work, not the person, fostering a supportive atmosphere. Taking a collaborative approach can also help. When I faced a situation where a friend was struggling with their presentation skills, we reviewed their slides together, openly discussing what might work better. By being a part of the solution, I not only offered constructive feedback, but also supported their journey towards improvement. The takeaway from giving constructive criticism lies in being genuine and thoughtful. Always focus on the positives first and frame your feedback in a way that emphasizes growth rather than deficiency. Remember to invite dialogue and listen. When providing feedback, it's equally important to create space for the other person to express their thoughts or ask questions. This helps in building a two-way relationship and ensures that the conversation remains productive. A useful tip to carry with you: before providing feedback, take a moment to reflect on your intention. If your goal is genuinely to help and improve, it will shine through in your words and tone. Receiving feedback gracefully. Receiving feedback can often feel daunting, but embracing it positively can pave the way for significant personal and professional growth. One of the best practices I've discovered is to approach feedback with an open mind. This means actively listening without immediately trying to defend your position. The moment I learned to silence my inner critic and focus on the speaker's words, I started to unlock insights I had previously missed. Remembering that feedback isn't a personal attack, but an opportunity to improve, helped change my perspective. Cultivating a habit of gratitude for the insights offered, even when they felt uncomfortable, transformed many challenging conversations into constructive dialogues. When it comes to responding to criticism, I learned that the tone of my response can profoundly impact the outcome. Instead of dismissing a critical comment, I now aim to engage with the feedback. This includes asking clarifying questions to fully understand the other person's point of view. For instance, during a review at work, when a colleague pointed out areas for improvement in my presentation skills, I didn't just nod in agreement. Instead, I asked specifically what aspects they found lacking and how I could enhance them. This simple act of inquiry not only demonstrates my willingness to learn, but also creates a collaborative atmosphere where both parties feel valued. Acknowledging their perspective, even if I didn't fully agree, allowed us to connect over shared goals rather than differences. It's crucial to remember that feedback is a two-way street. As I practiced receiving feedback more gracefully, I also started to offer my insights with more kindness and specificity. Sharing what was done well, alongside constructive criticism, makes it easier for the other person to accept and act upon the suggestions. This way, feedback becomes a nurturing experience instead of a source of anxiety. A practical tip I found particularly helpful is to set aside designated times for feedback discussions, creating a safe space where both parties are prepared for open and honest exchanges. By fostering an atmosphere of trust, you not only enhance your ability to receive feedback, but also empower others to engage in the process enthusiastically. Using feedback for personal development. Feedback is a powerful tool that can significantly influence my journey of personal and professional growth. Through my own experiences, I've learned that leveraging feedback isn't merely about receiving comments or suggestions. It's about actively engaging with the insights provided by others. Whenever I receive feedback, whether it's from a supervisor, a peer, or even a friend, I take a moment to pause and reflect on it. This reflection allows me to discern the underlying messages and find patterns in the assessments of my work or behavior. For instance, when a colleague pointed out that my presentations often lacked clarity, I realized that was an opportunity to improve my communication skills. I began to seek more specific feedback from others, asking targeted questions to go deeper into my understanding of how I could enhance my effectiveness. This iterative process transforms feedback from a mere critique into a constructive guide, steering my development in meaningful directions. Setting actionable goals based on feedback insights has been key in my journey. After identifying areas for improvement, I take the time to define specific steps I can take to address these insights. For example, after realizing the need to enhance my public speaking skills, I set a goal to attend a local Toastmasters club. This goal was not just vague ambition. I included a timeline and measurable outcomes, such as delivering at least 2 speeches within 3 months. By breaking down my goals into small, manageable tasks, I felt less overwhelmed and much more motivated. Also, I continued to seek feedback after each speech to determine what worked well and what needed refinement. This process of setting concrete objectives based on feedback allowed me to track my progress, celebrate my small victories, and continuously adapt to enhance my skills. The transformation that arises from this dedicated approach to feedback is not only rewarding, but also invigorates my pursuit of personal development. One essential tip that I've discovered on this journey is to always approach feedback with an open mind and a willingness to learn. Whether the feedback is positive or highlights areas for improvement, seeing it as an opportunity rather than a setback can change my entire perspective. Create a habit of regular check-ins with those around you to gather feedback and refine your goals accordingly. The insights you gain will pave the way for continuous growth, with each feedback cycle bringing you closer to your personal and professional aspirations. Chapter 12. The role of empathy in effective conversations. Practicing active empathy. Actively practicing empathy means going beyond just feeling for someone. It's about truly understanding their feelings and perspectives. In our daily interactions, sometimes we get so wrapped up in our own thoughts and problems that we miss connections with others. For example, I remember a conversation with a friend who was struggling with work-related stress. Instead of jumping in with solutions or sharing my own experiences, I tried to listen fully, reflecting back what they were expressing. I asked open-ended questions to encourage them to share more about their feelings, which not only made them feel heard, but also deepened our connection. It's a powerful reminder that empathy is not a passive experience. It requires our active participation and conscious effort to understand others fully. Enhancing our empathetic skills involves incorporating specific exercises and techniques into our daily lives. One effective exercise is to practice reflective listening. This technique involves listening without interrupting and then paraphrasing what the other person has said before responding. I often use this in conversations where emotions may run high, such as in disagreements with family or friends. By repeating back what I've heard, it signals to the other person that I'm genuinely trying to grasp their feelings. Another great technique is to place ourselves in someone else's shoes, literally or metaphorically. For example, during a disagreement, I take a moment to visualize the situation from the other person's perspective. This mental shift often changes my responses, leading to more constructive conversations. Journaling about daily interactions with a focus on others' feelings can also raise our empathy awareness and promote personal growth in this area, gradually cultivating a habit of noticing and responding to the emotional states of those around us. Understanding the emotions of others. Recognizing and validating the emotions of those around me has become a vital skill in my life. When I observe someone, I pay attention to their body language, the tone of their voice, and facial expressions. These nonverbal cues often speak louder than words. For instance, I once noticed a friend who seemed unusually quiet during a group gathering. By taking a moment to approach her and ask if she was okay, I created a space for her to share what was bothering her. It turned out she had a lot on her mind, and by simply acknowledging her feelings, I helped her feel heard and supported. Validating emotions means not dismissing them, regardless of whether I understand or agree. I remember a colleague who was frustrated with a new project. Instead of rushing to offer solutions, I listened to her concerns first. Acknowledging her feelings without judgment led to a deeper discussion and significantly improved our collaboration. Expressing empathy can dramatically shift the dynamics of any relationship. Each time I empathize with someone, it opens doors to trust and connection. For instance, the last time my partner felt overwhelmed with work, I put myself in their shoes and shared a time when I faced similar stress. This shared experience created a bond and showed that I could relate to their feelings. We ended up discussing ways to tackle the workload together, fostering a sense of partnership rather than just sympathy. When empathy is genuine, it invites vulnerability, encouraging others to express their feelings more openly. I've found that when I make the effort to understand someone's perspective, it strengthens our rapport, paving the way for richer conversations and deeper connections. Empathy isn't just about feeling what others feel, it's about creating an environment where they can safely share their emotional experiences. One practical tip I've learned is to practice active listening. This means giving full attention to the speaker, not just hearing their words, but understanding the emotions behind them. When I focus on what someone is saying, make eye contact, and ask clarifying questions, they feel valued. It's amazing how this simple act can boost someone's confidence and lead to more meaningful exchanges. Each time I put these techniques into practice, I see the positive ripple effects in my relationships, reinforcing the importance of being attuned to the emotions of those around me. Empathy as a tool for conflict resolution. Empathy has an incredible power to diffuse tension and foster profound understanding during conflicts. I learned this firsthand during a particularly heated discussion with my colleague about a project. Tempers flared, and both of us were convinced we were right. At that moment, I decided to take a step back and try to see things from my colleague's perspective. By asking open-ended questions and genuinely listening to their concerns, I noticed their body language begin to shift. The tightness in their shoulders relaxed, and I could feel the atmosphere start to change. By acknowledging their feelings and mirroring their emotions, a bridge formed between us that allowed for a calmer, more productive conversation. This moment was a revelation. It showed me that when we prioritize understanding over winning, we can resolve conflicts more gracefully. Empathy is not just about feeling, it's about connecting deeply with others, which can transform an uncomfortable confrontation into a collaborative dialogue. Applying empathetic communication strategies, especially in high-stakes situations, can feel daunting. However, I found that taking a moment to breathe and ground myself before responding makes a world of difference. For instance, during a negotiation where both parties had significant demands, I utilized a technique called reflective listening. This meant paraphrasing what the other person said to confirm that I understood their viewpoint correctly. Saying something like, "What I hear you saying is that you feel overwhelmed with the deadlines. Am I right?" Not only showed that I was paying attention, but also enabled my counterpart to feel heard. In the heat of a high-pressure situation, this small act can ripple outwards, promoting a calmer atmosphere where solutions become clearer. Remember, the goal is not to dismiss your feelings or those of others, but to create space for dialogue. This lays the groundwork for mutual understanding and paves the way for creative solutions. One practical tip I've found beneficial is to pause before responding when tensions rise. This might feel unnerving, but taking a breath or a brief moment to collect your thoughts can prevent rash replies that escalate conflict. By ensuring that I address the emotions behind the words, rather than merely the words themselves, I can reach a deeper level of communication. This means acknowledging not only my feelings, but also the emotional context of the situation. When both sides feel understood, it sets a foundation for resolution that feels satisfying and equitable. Remember, every conflict is a chance to learn more about each other, and empathy is the brilliant tool that can unlock that potential. Chapter 13. Building confidence in your communication skills. Self-reflection and personal growth. Self-reflection is a powerful tool that often gets overlooked in the hustle and bustle of daily life. When I first started to pay attention to my communication habits, I realized that many of my interactions felt superficial. I would engage in conversations without really considering my words or the impact they had on others. It wasn't until I took the time to reflect on my communication style that I began to see significant improvements. This process of reflecting on how I spoke, what I said, how I said it, and even how my tone affected the conversation, allowed me to identify areas where I needed to grow. Self reflection promotes awareness, and that awareness is crucial for developing effective communication skills. When we take the time to pause and muse on our interactions, we can learn valuable lessons that mold our approach in future conversations. Instead of repeating the same patterns, self reflection encourages us to make positive changes that enhance our interactions with others. Setting personal growth goals is an essential aspect of my communication journey. I've found that clarity in my goals not only boosts my confidence, but also provides a roadmap for my improvement. For instance, I started by identifying specific areas I wanted to enhance, such as active listening. I set a clear intention. During conversations, I would focus on truly understanding what the other person was saying rather than preparing my response while they spoke. I made it a goal to ask at least one follow-up question in every conversation to deepen my engagement. This commitment not only enriched my conversations, but also made the other person feel valued and heard. By regularly setting these small, achievable goals, I noticed steady progress in my ability to connect with others on a deeper level, making each interaction more meaningful. One practical tip I might share is to keep a communication journal. Jotting down reflections after significant conversations can help solidify insights and track your progress. You can note what went well, what could have been better, and set goals for your next conversations. This simple practice encourages consistent self-reflection and growth in your communication skills, leading to more fulfilling interactions moving forward. Engaging in regular practice. Understanding the value of practice is crucial when it comes to building confidence and fluency in conversations. When I first started engaging in conversations, I often felt anxious and unsure of myself. I remember walking into a coffee shop, knowing I had to place an order, but dreading the moment I'd have to speak. It was through practice that I learned to navigate these situations. Just like playing a musical instrument, the more we rehearse our conversation skills, the more naturally they come to us. With each practice session, whether it was alone in front of a mirror or chatting with a friend, I noticed a gradual shift. I became more at ease, my words flowed better, and I felt a sense of control over the conversation. This process of building confidence through practice cannot be overstated. Each interaction is a stepping stone toward becoming a more fluent conversationalist. Finding real-life opportunities for practice is essential to refining these skills. I actively sought out situations where I could engage in conversation. Sometimes it was as simple as making small talk with a neighbor while walking the dog, or striking up a conversation with a coworker during a lunch break. These moments, though seemingly trivial, turned out to be invaluable in helping me gain experience and confidence. I learned to embrace every chance to communicate, whether in person, on the phone, or even through online chat. Each conversation was a chance to implement what I had practiced, like trying out a new recipe. And just like cooking, not every attempt was perfect. There were times I stumbled over my words or missed a cue in the dialogue, but that's all part of the learning process. These real-life interactions sharpened my skills, allowing me to apply what I practiced and see immediate results. A useful tip to consider is to set a personal goal for your conversation practice. It could be something simple, like having a 5-minute chat with someone new each week. This can lead you to meet new people and develop your conversational skills organically. Remember, practice is a journey, not a race. Celebrate small victories along the way and don't shy away from challenges. Eventually, you may find that you approach conversations with ease and excitement, ready to engage with anyone who crosses your path. Overcoming fear of judgment. Fear of judgment can feel like a heavy weight, making it hard to express ourselves openly. I remember my first public speaking experience like it was yesterday. My palms were sweaty, my heart raced, and I felt like everyone was silently critiquing my every word. To combat this fear, I learned a few strategies that transformed my approach to communication. One of the most effective was to shift my focus from what others might think of me to the message I wanted to share. Instead of worrying about being judged, I concentrated on delivering value through my words. This shifted my mindset completely. Practicing positive self-talk also played a crucial role. I would remind myself that everyone has their own insecurities and that most people really just want to connect. Understanding that it's perfectly okay to be imperfect helped me embrace vulnerability, which is often where real connection happens. Building resilience is like strengthening a muscle, it requires consistent effort and practice. To gain confidence in my voice, I began exposing myself to situations that felt a bit uncomfortable. I started small, engaging in conversations with strangers, joining discussion groups, or even expressing my opinions in safe environments, like among friends. Each time I spoke up, I built a little more confidence. I also found it helpful to seek feedback from trusted friends who could provide constructive criticism without harsh judgment. They taught me that every mistake is a learning opportunity, and realizing this helped diminish the fear of making errors in public. Visualization techniques became another powerful ally. I would picture myself speaking confidently and receiving positive reactions. By envisioning success, I trained my mind to expect it, which made it a reality more often. In the end, the key to overcoming the fear of judgment is practice, combined with a realistic perspective on what it means to communicate. Engage in conversations, embrace your unique voice, and challenge those inner critics that try to hold you back. One practical tip that proved invaluable was to start each conversation by setting an intention, whether it's to learn something new, share a story, or simply connect. This keeps the focus on your purpose rather than on perceived judgment, making every interaction just a little less daunting and a whole lot more rewarding. Chapter 14: Networking and Relationship Building Strategies for Effective Networking. Approaching networking events with confidence can be a game changer. I remember the first time I walked into a room filled with strangers, my heart raced, and I felt like everyone could see my nerves. Over time, I learned that preparation and a genuine mindset can transform that anxiety into excitement. One proven strategy is to set clear goals for what you want to achieve at the event. Do you want to meet industry leaders, gather insights, or maybe find a mentor? Having a purpose in mind not only steadies your mind, but also gives you direction. Another helpful tactic is to practice your introduction beforehand. A simple, engaging pitch about who you are and what you do can make opening conversations much smoother. I often remind myself to be approachable. A warm smile and open body language can invite others to connect. Also, remember that you're not the only one feeling nervous. Many attendees share the same anxiety, and extending a friendly greeting can ease us both into a relaxed conversation. Identifying opportunities for genuine connection in professional settings often hinges on being observant and engaged. Instead of waiting for others to approach you, look for conversation starters in your surroundings or in the agenda. For instance, if you hear someone express interest in a topic you're passionate about, seize the moment to introduce yourself and offer your perspective. This can create an instant rapport. At one event, I overheard a group discussing a recent industry challenge, and rather than sitting back, I jumped in with my thoughts. It not only sparked a constructive dialogue, but also led to a lasting professional relationship. Shared experiences can serve as powerful networking bridges. When you see someone navigating a similar challenge, whether it's seeking job advice or tackling a common task, don't hesitate to reach out. Sharing your stories, challenges, and successes builds deeper connections and fosters a supportive network. Another key element is to follow up after the event, as this is where many connections can solidify. Sending a brief message to express gratitude for a conversation or sharing an article related to your discussion can keep the connection alive. I often make a note of something personal we discussed and reference it in my follow-up, showing that I truly valued our interaction. This personal touch enhances rapport and keeps you memorable in their mind. In the end, effective networking is not just about exchanging business cards. It's about cultivating authentic relationships that can lead to mutual growth. Remember, every conversation is a chance to learn, share, and connect. Keep this in mind the next time you find yourself in a networking situation. Your openness can lead to unexpected and fruitful outcomes. Maintaining relationships over time. Consistent communication is the lifeblood of any relationship. I've found that it's not just about the frequency of the conversations, but the quality of them too. When I reflect on the most meaningful connections in my life, it's clear that those friendships and partnerships have flourished through regular open dialogue. It's about checking in, sharing experiences, and taking the time to truly listen. Imagine a friend who sends you a quick text just to ask how you're doing, or shares something interesting they came across. Those small gestures matter. They show that someone values you and is thinking of you, which nurtures the bond you share. I remember a time when I was going through a rough patch. A simple phone call from a close friend lifted my spirits immensely. It reinforced my belief that staying in touch, even briefly, can keep a relationship vibrant and supportive. Technology provides us with a myriad of tools to maintain our networks. From social media platforms to messaging apps, the options are endless. I've found that scheduling regular catch ups, whether it's a weekly family video call or a monthly lunch with friends, helps create a rhythm in those relationships. There are also apps designed for organizing personal interactions, like reminders to reach out to your friends. Additionally, I often use shared platforms like Google Calendar to set up events that keep everyone in the loop. Instantly, it becomes a fun way to plan gatherings or just check off smaller tasks together. The point is to actively engage with your connections. Sometimes, a simple like on a social media post can open the door to a meaningful dialogue. One of the most impactful strategies for staying connected is to make your communication intentional. I've learned that sending a thoughtful email or note can go a long way in showing someone you care. For instance, I often jot down notes for friends when I hear something that resonates with their interests or struggles, and I follow up with that information later. A handwritten card on a birthday, or even a text to check in about a job interview, can remind people that they are valued. Incorporating these personalized touches into our interactions helps cement those relationships and keeps the lines of communication open. Ultimately, the goal is to foster a sense of belonging and support. As you think about your own relationships, consider how you can use these straightforward strategies to strengthen your connections, ensuring that they remain important pieces of your life's puzzle. Following up after conversations. Understanding the importance of follow up messages can enhance the connections we create through conversations. It's not just about what is said in the moment, it's about reinforcing that dialogue afterward. When I began taking this seriously, I noticed how much stronger my relationships became. A simple message thanking someone for their time or mentioning a point we discussed can echo through your interactions. It shows that you value the conversation and helps to establish a deeper bond. Follow ups can also serve as a gentle reminder of the conversation, encouraging the other person to engage further. This small gesture can lead to more opportunities down the road, whether it's a job offer, a collaboration, or simply a lasting friendship. For instance, I once attended a networking event where I met a fellow writer who shared similar interests. After our conversation, I sent a message expressing how much I enjoyed our chat and even recommended a book that I thought she would love. That thoughtful follow up not only sparked further dialogue, but also led to a coffee meetup where we exchanged ideas and connected on a professional level. Another time, after an interview, I sent a personalized thank you note to the interview panel. I mentioned specific points from our discussion, which demonstrated my attentiveness and genuine interest in the role. Days later, I received a call offering me the position. These examples show that thoughtful follow ups can leave a lasting positive impression that can transform a brief interaction into something meaningful. Incorporating follow ups into your routine doesn't have to feel daunting. Start by setting a reminder to send a message after significant conversations, whether they are personal or professional. It's a small effort for a big payoff. Each follow up is an opportunity to convey appreciation, re engage, or simply keep the lines of communication open. Remember, it's not always about asking for something. Often, it's about nurturing the relationships we have built. So make it a practice to reach out after your conversations, as each message can be a stepping stone to more enriching relationships and opportunities in the future. Chapter 15. Continuous Learning in Communication. Staying updated on communication trends. Staying current with communication trends is essential in a rapidly evolving world. Technologies, cultural shifts, and societal changes constantly reshape how we connect and interact. For instance, the rise of remote work has placed a greater emphasis on digital communication tools. Platforms like Zoom, Slack, and Microsoft Teams have transformed team interactions, making it vital to not only be proficient in these tools, but also to understand the nuances of virtual communication. Engaging in conversations through a screen requires different skills than face to face interactions, from mastering body language to finding ways to convey emotions without physical presence. Understanding these latest trends helps you communicate more effectively, ensuring your messages resonate in today's context. Adapting your communication skills to remain relevant starts with a willingness to learn and try new approaches. This means not only being familiar with current technologies, but also understanding their best practices. For example, it's helpful to embrace the art of concise and clear messaging, especially in environments dominated by instant communication. Adopting strategies like using bullet points in emails or being succinct in chat messages can increase clarity and engagement. I have found that role playing scenarios with friends or colleagues can also refine these skills and help you feel more comfortable in various situations. Also, exploring diverse perspectives is crucial. Seeking feedback can illuminate blind spots in your communication style. Being proactive in learning about new trends can put you ahead of the game. Subscribing to communication blogs or attending workshops can introduce you to fresh ideas and techniques. Networking with professionals in your field can provide insights into how others are adapting their communication strategies successfully. I often attend webinars or industry conferences where the latest communication practices are discussed. These gatherings not only feed my curiosity, but also offer real world examples of what works today. Remember, truly mastering conversation isn't just about staying updated, it's about embracing change and being open to evolving your communication style. Small, consistent efforts to refine how you express yourself can lead to meaningful improvements in your interactions. Learning from each conversation. Every conversation we engage in holds the potential for valuable lessons that can enhance our interpersonal skills. I've often found that the most profound insights arise from the simplest exchanges. For example, during a casual chat with a neighbor about gardening, I discovered not just tips for growing tomatoes, but also learned the importance of patience and listening. Each interaction teaches us something, whether it's how to frame our thoughts clearly or the nuances of nonverbal communication. I've come to realize that every dialogue is an opportunity for growth. When I reflect on discussions, I try to identify moments that felt impactful. Maybe it was a question that shifted the direction of the conversation, or a response that sparked a deeper dialogue. These are the moments to cherish, as they can mold our future interactions. Adopting a mindset geared towards continuous improvement can transform how we approach conversations. After each exchange, I set aside a few moments to reflect on what went well and what could have been better. This practice is akin to a mental debriefing, where I assess my comfort levels, the effectiveness of my communication strategies, and my emotional responses. For instance, I remember a networking event where I felt particularly nervous. By processing that experience afterward, I recognized that my nerves came from worrying about making a perfect impression. This realization steered me to focus more on being genuine rather than rehearsing a script. Embracing a reflective mindset not only sharpens our skills, but also reveals our unique voice in conversations. It allows us to grow steadily, equipping us to handle future discussions with greater confidence and authenticity. Implementing these principles into our daily lives doesn't have to be daunting. Start by taking a few moments at the end of your day to think about the conversations you've had. What stood out? How did you feel? This simple practice of reflection turns ordinary exchanges into rich learning experiences, enabling you to approach each new dialogue with fresh insights and a renewed sense of purpose. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, remind yourself that it is not merely an exchange of words, but a unique opportunity for personal development. The more you engage with this mindset, the better you will become at mastering the art of conversation. Engaging in workshops and forums. Finding the right communication workshops and forums can significantly enhance your ability to express yourself. Every event is an opportunity for learning, which often begins with identifying where those opportunities lie. I remember stumbling upon a local workshop that focused on public speaking. It was not just an event, it was a gateway to refining my communication style as I learned from speakers who resonated with audiences in captivating ways. Engaging with professionals and fellow attendees opened up pathways to learn techniques I had never considered. It's essential to remain curious and pursue not just formal workshops, but community forums, online webinars, and even local meetups. Each setting can provide unique perspectives and insights. Actively seek out those opportunities where you can soak in the knowledge around you. The benefits of community learning cannot be overstated. When you participate in settings that encourage peer feedback, you create a supportive culture that fosters growth and confidence. I recall a workshop where we paired up to give each other feedback on our speaking styles. The honest, constructive criticism was golden. It allowed me to see blind spots I hadn't noticed before. Such interactions not only helped me to refine my approach, but also built a sense of camaraderie among participants, making it easier to share vulnerabilities and learn from one another. Engaging with a community offers diverse viewpoints and methods, which can be eye-opening. You start to understand that growth doesn't happen in isolation, but rather through the shared experiences of others. Taking part in this sort of communal learning environment can significantly elevate your skill level. Always remember that communication is a skill, much like playing an instrument or painting. It requires practice and patience. A practical tip is to take notes during workshops and discussions. Jot down insights that resonate with you and follow up with people who share similar interests. Forming connections and establishing a network can lead to new opportunities for growth. Don't shy away from putting yourself out there. Every conversation is a new chance to learn and excel in mastering the art of communication. Thank you for joining me on this journey through how to talk with anyone, master the art of effortless conversations with pro tips and powerful insights. By now, you've gained a deeper understanding of how to navigate conversations with confidence, finesse, and empathy. Remember, communication is an ever-evolving skill, and with practice, you'll continue to grow in your ability to connect meaningfully with others. Whether it's breaking the ice, mastering small talk, or navigating tough conversations, the tools you've learned here are designed to be applied in everyday life. As you continue to refine your communication, remember that the key to powerful conversations is staying present, being a good listener, and fostering genuine connection. Your journey doesn't end here. Every interaction is an opportunity to practice and improve. Keep engaging, keep learning, and most importantly, keep talking with confidence. If you found this audiobook helpful, don't forget to share it with others and spread the power of better communication. Thank you for listening, and here's to your success in mastering the art of conversation.